Hello, my lovely, lovely listeners. I hope you are doing fantastic on this fantastic day. Probably going to be midday when I release this, so I was going to say night, but it's day. Welcome to another White Feathers video. Today we are going to do something a slight bit different, but also similar to my collection videos. Today we are going to do 4 short, scary stories in a White Feathers collection. All of these stories come from the subreddit of the same name, Short Scary Stories. However, I do want to also add that today's video features the ever-fantastic Gentleman Raven, another Corvid, eh? As you know, we Corvids like to stick together, so, It makes sense that Gentleman Raven would be featured on one of my videos eventually, because, Corvids, birds, we stick together. Anyway, I will link to all of his stuff down in the description. Please give him as much love as you can. Subscribe to him and follow him on Twitter. He's great at what he does. He does really well at this, and I am very honored to have him featured in a video. So, all that said, here are 4 short, scary stories featuring Gentleman Raven. Enjoy.
Life can be unfair. You can do everything right and still fail. So why bother, right? Motto of my husband, apparently. He got fired recently, and despite getting a new job fairly quickly, he had used it as an excuse to cheat on me. In our house, no less. Quote, he'll never do it again, or so he said. I'll have to take his word for it, however, as I am the only one out of his life that is still alive. Even his mistress, Kathy, is dead. I'm hiding in the utility closet. He is currently downstairs, taking another round through the house. My heart starts beating quicker. He must have passed the kitchen now, walking past the bodies of Eliza and Dylan, our kids. At least they had a quick death, as did Buddy, the dog we adopted years ago. The sounds had been heartbreaking, but not as heartbreaking as knowing how he destroyed everything. It made me angry. How could anyone be so selfish as to drag others into something that should be private? I gripped the kitchen knife tighter, my improvised weapon. It had been a better choice than the plunger Kathy had chosen. Never rely on a plunger of all things to save your life. He went upstairs. Again, he walked past me. His back was turned to me. This would probably be my last chance. I breathed in deeply. I threw the door open and stabbed him in the leg. He fell down, tears streaming down his face. I told you, I'd never do it again. His voice was desperate. He did not even try to defend himself. He just lay there, clutching his leg. Please, Deborah, why? His voice was cut short as I cut his throat. I had planned on making him suffer like I did with that skank Kathy, but the whining was simply pathetic. I did everything in life right, and still failed. So why would I bother following stupid rules, right?
Dream journal entry number 1. I wake up in the middle of the night, and I need to pee. I open the door and walk to my bathroom. It's occupied. I turn to go upstairs to use the toilet and appease my screaming bladder, my knife on my hip, and my phone in my hand. I rotate my phone face up, and it flashes to life. I swipe up on the screen and press a button. My flashlight turns on. I think to myself, I went to sleep in just my underwear. Why am I fully dressed with a blade affixed to my belt? I press onward, my eyes adjust to the light, and I see the floors littered with various pillows I've never seen before. My dogs lie upon them, looking at me in confusion. I pat them and begin my journey up the stairs. After climbing the first set of stairs, my phone flashlight flows to the front door window. However, only the inky blackness remains. Shouldn't the streetlights be on? I ask myself. I turn to walk up a second flight of stairs. My beam of white light cuts through the darkness like a butter knife. At the top of the stairs, my dog gate is open. And this is to be expected, I guess. I then see my dogs lying on a large dog bed together. My heart sinks in my chest. I glance over the stair railing to see the imposters, their eyes glowing in the night, and their fangs sharp like razors. They break into a sprint up the stairs. I wake up in a cold sweat, and I have to pee.
Miss Gomez sat back in her chair and looked over the roll of her second grade class. Brayden, you have something for show and tell today? She asked. He nodded, pulled something from his backpack and stood at the front of the room. This is a snow globe, he said. The class oohed and awed. My grandpa made it. Who wishes we could trade places with the people in that snow globe for the day? Miss Gomez said to polite laughter. Mom loved the snow, Miss Gomez thought to herself, briefly looking at the framed picture of her and her mom on her desk. I should have not lugged her all the way here to Arizona. As Brayden finished, he walked the snow globe around the classroom for all to see. Can I take a look? Miss Gomez asked. Of course, he said, placing it on her desk. Keep it here for a while. There's a lot to take in. Thank you, Brayden, Miss Gomez said. Let's see. Becky, why don't you go next? While show and tell proceeded, Miss Gomez looked at the snow globe carefully. The amount of detail was remarkable. In the center of the snow globe was a snowy scene of a mid-sized commercial building, surrounded by intricate pathways, streetlights, and benches. As she glanced between the presenting student, the snow globe, and the picture of her mom on her desk, something dawned on her. The building in the snow globe was the hospital her mom was in. It struck her as nothing more than an odd coincidence at first. Perhaps Brayden's grandma was in the hospital for a long time, and his grandpa created the snow globe as a memorial or something. Before Miss Gomez could call Brayden over, the bell for afternoon recess rung. The kids, including Brayden, burst out in cheers and filtered out the door. Oh well, she said to herself and leaned back, taking a long sip of coffee. She picked the snow globe up, stared at it carefully, then gave it a good shake. The snow engulfed the scene, swirling the building entirely. She looked over her desk calendar momentarily, then glanced at the snow globe again. The scene had changed. This time, in the center of the globe was a staircase stretched 5 levels high. Miss Gomez recognized it as the staircase of her mother's hospital. At the top of the staircase was a woman in a hospital gown, a spitting image of her mother. She was standing on top of the railing, looking down at the ground, 5 levels below. What the hell? Miss Gomez whispered, clutching the snow globe. Her phone rang. It was the Gila Valley Medical Center. No, she said and shook the snow globe again while the phone rang. Before the snow settled, one of her students popped her head in the door. Miss Gomez, you'll never believe it. It's snowing in Arizona.
I lead a boring life. I work all week but don't even earn enough to enjoy a night out. I suffer from OCD, and it's amplified by stress. I try to relax myself by reading, watching TV, or listening to music. But my mind always seems to drift, and the hounding thoughts trigger an OCD episode. After a tough day of work, I sometimes clean my already spotless apartment from top to bottom. I clean throughout the night, and don't even make time to sleep before work. I know living like this isn't healthy, so I decided to try something new to distract my mind and put me at ease. I was going to start listening to scary stories on YouTube. The mystery and suspense are perfect for maintaining my concentration and allowing my mind an escape from the stresses of the day. My new tactic was seemingly a huge success. A few days in, with no impulses to clean, no thoughts of despair, nothing but stories and sleep. The tone of the narrator put me at ease. The stories were mysterious enough to keep me guessing, scary enough to keep me interested, and at the conclusion, I always felt calm enough to drift off to bed. It was still a boring life, but a peaceful life, and for the first time in a while, I was content. I arrived home from work, ate dinner, showered, and then slid my earbuds in for my daily dose. I began listening to the voice of the narrator, but tonight, I wasn't getting the same feeling I had the previous nights. I was feeling a sense of unease. I tried concentrating on the soothing voice, tried comprehending the story being laid out in front of me. My mind was beginning to race. I felt physically cold, and I began letting the OCD tendencies creep in. I thought of how I hadn't cleaned the house in days, how I hadn't changed the sheets or taken out the garbage. Now it was ringing in my head on repeat. I gave in to my impulses. I had to get new sheets out of the dryer. I had to take the garbage out. I had to close the window. I had to water the plants. Suddenly, my mind stopped racing, and only one thought went through my mind. I never opened the window. So there you go, dear listeners. Those are 4 short, scary stories. A huge thank you to all of the authors that let me read these stories, and a huge thank you to Gentleman Raven for helping me out on this one. I genuinely appreciate it. Again, go show him some love. He's a great guy. Go sub, follow, all that stuff. He's genuinely fantastic, and honestly, on a personal level, he's just a really nice person, and I really love working with him here. So, all that said, if you guys enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up, like it. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed my narration. Lastly, go ahead and leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you, and I try to converse with as many possible comments as I can. Finally, in the description, there will also be the links to all of these stories, as well as links to my Twitter, subreddit, Facebook, and a link to a page where you can submit your stories to me. Please do consider doing so if you have a story that you would like me to narrate. It would help me a lot. All that said, I hope you have a fantastic day, a fantastic week, and I hope to see you on the next video. But until then, sleep well.